Okay, wait, it's happening. Okay, everyone's on their phone while the wedding's happening, but that's okay. The officiant is coming, guys! Nope, he's just standing in the way. Never mind. Oh, she's crying. Is anything happening over here? Like, is any... Hey guys, it's Windwolf and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the new My Wedding Stories game pack that came as DLC for The Sims 4. But before we get started, I just want to remind you guys to hit the like button and the subscribe button if you guys enjoy my content. The pack has been out for a few days now. It was released on the 23rd, I think. So I'm a little bit late in posting this, but that is because I wasn't really sure if I wanted to make any sort of content on this pack. The pack is a bit of a roller coaster and a little bit of a mess. So I didn't know if I really wanted to even talk about it or like make a review video on it. I'm gonna start with cast and build by, and then we'll go into gameplay, but all of my timestamps for where I talk about what should be in the description box if I remember to do that, so you guys can kind of easily peruse this part of the video or any part of the video that you want. But let's hop into it. So we're going to start with probably what I would consider the best part of this new pack, and that is the Create a Sim items. So there's 85 new cast assets that came with this pack, and I just have to say they are so good. There's a lot of detail that goes into them. I like all of the textures on them. The color swatches are great. They even have a black color swatch, which I was a little bit surprised about because black isn't really a color that you normally think of in weddings, or I guess it depends on what culture you're in, but in America you don't usually think of like black wedding dresses, but they do have black and they have a couple of different options. And the best part is that they keep it pretty uniform across all of the attire. Like for the most part, all of the swatches match, so there's not like any weird rando bright pink color that's not in a different dress, which is pretty important because in weddings a lot of times people kind of match their colors. Like bridesmaids have specific colors that match with the groomsmen, so in this case you can make sure that your wedding is fully matched, at least from cast. You can make sure of that. So that's pretty cool. The second thing that's also pretty good about this pack is that it's diverse. A fair amount in comparison to what we usually get. There's a couple of very traditional like wedding dresses, or I guess more modernized wedding dresses. There's nothing like super puffy, but they're obviously more westernized. But then there's also a couple of packs that are clearly from other cultures. There are a couple of clothings that are from different cultures. I recognize right off the bat there's one that's more Indian. There's also, I believe, a different Asian. I think it's supposed to be Chinese, but I'm not actually certain about that. And I think there's also Middle Eastern as well, which is pretty cool. So you will be able to dress your Sims up in whatever your traditional attire is for your culture. Obviously not every culture is fit in, but I'm hoping that some of these items help you just a little bit with getting closer to what you have in your culture. So that's another great thing about cast. And I was actually really impressed because they managed to add henna or mehendi also, which was pretty cool. And it just goes on the arms, and obviously it's for men or women. And I thought that was really impressive that they went into that detail. They also add boutonnieres, and I thought those were super cute. Some people didn't like them because on the side they're floating a little bit, but you really won't notice that when you're actually playing the game. So that was pretty cool. Just in general, the dresses are really good. I love their textures. I like the sheen. I like the color swatches a lot. A lot of them are just like simple pastels. There are a lot of simple pastel colors, and there's also a few vibrant colors, which is pretty good because, as I said, culturally other places have really bright and colorful weddings, and some places have more like married in white, type of vibe. So there's enough variability that I'm hoping you'll be able to achieve whatever you're going for. But yeah, like overall, the items in this pack are just so good. The only thing I thought was a little bit weird about cast, this is the only downside, is when there are a few dresses that don't match with the rest, which is a little bit annoying. Like if I wanted to have a wedding party that actually matches and I want to use that specific dress, but for the most part, like 99% of the items all match, and then there's a couple of odd ones out that just don't. And there's no shoes. Like there's a couple, like the men got one new pair of like loafer fancy type shoes, and then the feminine Sims got sort of like these sandal shoes and some slippers, I believe. Kids also got a new pair of shoes, I believe. But that's kind of it. And I kind of expected more in the shoe department just because this is a wedding And obviously, when you think of weddings, you're thinking of like the perfect outfit, and that usually involves like really nice high heels. And we didn't really get any new fancy high heels. And the reason I'm complaining about that is because I really hate the high heels in the base game, and I just hate all the high heels in the game in general. And I own every single expansion pack, every single game pack, every single stuff pack, and I just feel like we're missing out on just like nice, more modernized heels, or even just more like glamorous type of heels. I feel like they could have brought a little bit of variety with that, but they didn't, and that's really unfortunate because I think they could have, managed to put some stuff in. Other than that, the cast is A++. Like, the items are really great. There's lots of swatches, there's diversity in it, and it kind of checks all the marks in what you would want in cast. And there's even new makeup and new nail polish, which is pretty impressive. Oh my god, I don't even know how I forgot to talk about that. There's new wedding rings, or like there's new rings that obviously you would wear as if it's like a wedding band, and they look so good. I'm so tired of using the same wedding band on my Sims. There's like that one simple like gold wedding band I always use. Now we have some diversity in that, and you can have a couple of different options in terms of colors and in terms of shape. So that's pretty cool. There's only like 4, I think, but that's a fair amount. Like, I'm happy with that. Cast overall just gets like A++++++ to me. I would have given it a 10 out of 10 if there were shoes. Heading into build buy, there are 82 new build buy assets. Obviously, it's all very wedding oriented, so there's new fancy chairs that have greenery on them. There's new wedding arches. There's like several new wedding arches. There's bouquets. There's this cute little teapot thing that you can use to have your Sims make tea in, and there's more of like an English British version as well as a Chinese one, I believe. There's some new wedding aisles. There's also some dance things. There's also the buffet table. I don't know if that's exactly what it's called, but there's a buffet table, which is something that was only introduced in luxury party stuff at the time, but they've now added it in this pack as well, which is great. Unfortunate for luxury party stuff because that's really the only good thing in that pack, but it's great for this pack because you definitely need buffet type tables in The Sims. So there's several different options for that one. They also add these cute little champagne bottles, which I really like. New windows. As for windows, there's more like traditional stained glass windows, but there's also some more like useful kind of modernized with shutters, and they're really good. Like, I'm impressed. And same as the cast, there's a couple of cultural things as well, or at least things that you could use to be a bit more cultural, which is beneficial. And there is a new fountain and a couple of just random little decor pieces. I don't think I need to go through all of it. So I do like the build buy a lot. It's kind of like what you would expect from a wedding pack. It's a lot of items that you would use to create wedding venues. I think they probably could have added a little bit more diversity in what they had, but like overall, I think they hit the mark on build buy. I think build buy is pretty good in terms of the items. What I am sad about is the wood swatches in this pack. We've had this talk before with EA, have we not? But build buy is so difficult when swatches don't match, especially wood swatches. And I'm not really one to complain that much about wood swatches, or at least in the past. Like, I don't make builds and need to match every single wood tone. In fact, I often mismatch wood tones with like a lighter tone and a darker tone. But for this, I just feel like none of the wood tones are really wood tones that we have in the game, and it's a little bit unfortunate. It kind of reminds me of Tiny Living. I struggle to use Tiny Living all the time because the wood swatch is so much different from what we have in game. So once again, I'm coming with the complaint about the wood tones. That is the only big negative to me in build buy, but other than that, I think build buy is great. Like, there's not that much to go on. Like, the items are cool. They're really useful for if you're gonna make a wedding venue. So let's talk about the thing that we have been waiting on. We are going to talk about the gameplay. This game pack was made to add weddings into The Sims 4. Not just weddings, but other sort of wedding related things like bachelorette parties, engagement dinners, receptions, rehearsal dinners, things like that. So they've added a few different events, and along with that, the game pack came with its own world called Tartosa, and Tartosa is, I believe, a Mediterranean inspired world. It has 9 lots, and one of them is a beach, and that's pretty cool because as of right now, the only place you can find a beach is in Island Living, in the world Sulani. There's no base game beaches. So this is pretty cool that they have finally added a beach somewhere else other than Sulani. It's just one, and you can't build on the water like you can in the other pack, but it's still pretty cool to have, and it means that you can have a beach wedding. So it makes sense that if anywhere they would have added a beach in this pack. Like, it makes sense that it's there. In the world, there's a couple of rental lots. I think there is a residential lot as well, and there is a wedding venue. And along with that wedding venue, there are also wedding venues that are uploaded into your gallery automatically. So if you go into like your library, you'll find pre-made wedding venues in case you want to switch them. Some of them are cultural too, so it's not just like a traditional westernized wedding. I think they have one that's like more Chinese, or I don't know if it's Chinese or Japanese, and then they have one that's a little bit more Indian, and then they have like a traditional sort of cathedral type one as well. So there's a couple of different options for you to use if you don't like the one that's already placed into the world. And the world itself is absolutely gorgeous. It has a lot of interactions in it. Now, I didn't get a chance to really go that deep into like the world, but there's supposedly supposed to be some lore in the world. There's this tree that they made a point of talking about in the trailer and in the live stream about when they were talking about the pack before it came out. And there's also supposed to be some interactions that you can do with the townies to learn about some lore of the world. Now, I tried that. I didn't really get that much out of it. I'm not really sure if I was supposed to talk more to the townies or if I'm supposed to find the tree first. I actually didn't find the tree at the time, and I realized I watched someone else's video and I think I just missed it, so I'll have to go back and look into it. But as of right now, the world has a lot of interaction in it. Just aside from that, there's also a bridal shop, a cake shop, and a flower shop. It's not like an actual shop, like you can't go in and pick stuff. It's kind of like those menus, kind of similar to Journey But 2, so you can click on it. You can click buy cake or whatever, and then you can pick on whatever cake you want, and you can pick either slices or you can buy a whole cake. So people like to use this as like, oh, you go cake tasting. So you buy your $30 piece of cake, you can taste it. There's a nice little bench that you can take your family and like sit there with, and it's very cute and wholesome. And there's also obviously the flower place where you can buy bouquets for your wedding, because there is a bouquet toss that you can do if you want to. There is a bridal shop. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't function as a shop because shops are obviously something that came from Get to Work, which is an expansion pack. So the bridal shop is just something you can click on and it takes you into CAS if you want to go into CAS, or you can window shop. So that's the main like plaza, and then there's a bunch of beautiful, like, this world is so pretty. It has so many different places where you can take engagement photos or wedding photos, family photos. There's just a lot of picturesque moments in this world, and they've also added like this ability to play in the sand and draw hearts. I don't know if that's base game. I would assume they made that base game, but it's really cool. And like there's a lot of just interaction in the world. Like you can have your Sims go swimming, or you can take them to the waterfall. Like, it's just very pretty. It's a nice world, and it has a lot of playability in it and just areas to take photos in. And then of course there's a shopping aspect as well, and the lore, which we all know that Sims players love lore, so that's pretty great. But the unfortunate part now, along with the world, obviously comes the actual wedding part. So they came out with 7 new events for your Sims to do. I'll show them up on the list, but off the top of my head, there's an engagement dinner, there's reception, there's a rehearsal dinner, I believe, as well. There's obviously the wedding, there's a vow renewal, there's a batch party. They call it batch, so that's gender neutral. And there's a couple of other things, I'm not sure what off the top of my head. And the functionality of them is just kind of bad. I really wish that wasn't the case. I really wish it wasn't, but it just is. So when I played on stream, I tested what did I test? I tested the engagement dinner, the batch party, and the wedding, obviously. So the engagement dinner went pretty well. My Sims could have so basically you'll get this menu. And you can like click what you want your Sims to do in said event. So for example, the engagement dinner, it's like I picked eat food, dancing, have toasts, and a couple of other things. For the wedding, I picked bouquet toss, I picked have an officiant, I picked walk down the aisle, dancing, first dance, There's a couple of options like throw rice or have tea. I didn't do either of those, but there's a few different options. And it just compiles this list, and during the event you can complete, and when you complete it, it's like crosses out or something. But unfortunately this isn't a gold event, so it's just you doing it for funsies. There's really no reason to do it other than that you want to, so you don't get anything out of doing the items. It's not like you're gonna have a bad wedding or a bad engagement dinner if you don't complete all of the items. So that's one thing. I actually kind of wish that there was an option for a gold version, because all of our events in the past have been gold, so I just find it a bit odd that they wouldn't make these gold events as well. I don't know if that was just too complicated because you get to pick what you actually do, but I just wish that that wasn't the case. When I did the engagement dinner, it worked out pretty well. All the Sims were listening. My one Sim gave a toast, and it was really cute because the Sim gave a toast and then became embarrassed because they gave a bad wedding toast. Oh, he got embarrassed. Oh, he got embarrassed. He gave a poor toast. Now he's leaving from embarrassment. He's leaving from embarrassment. Oh no. The husband is not at the engagement dinner. I repeat. The husband has left in embarrassment. And then another Sim did it and they were fine. Like, it was a good wedding toast. So I'm glad that they have this like variety of things like that. And the Sims for the most part did listen. There were a couple of Sims that kind of wandered off, but for the most part everyone did as they were told. Going into the batch party, that was not the case at all. So I made a couple of rando friends like Katrina Caliente, of course, and we invited her to the bachelorette party, and we went to a karaoke place, and the Sims were all over the place, man. None of them were listening. Okay, so far these are the only two actually getting drinks. I guess she's distracted. What is happening? What are we flirting? We're getting married. What are you doing? This is not what I asked. So they didn't really do any of the events. Like, I had to form a group to get them to do what I want, and even then they weren't doing it even when I formed a group to make them do it. And that's like sort of the way to get all your Sims to do things pre this wedding pack. So the Sims were kind of all over the place. My one Sim started flirting. My fiance started flirting with some other dude at the bachelorette party. I don't even know. Like, I kept telling her to sit and drink or sit and go dance, and she was just like, nah, I don't want to do that. And so the bachelorette party was a little bit of a mess. It semi worked, semi didn't. There's really nothing I can say about that. I don't know where my wedding guests, or not wedding guests, my bachelorette guests went. Some of them just disappeared. It was very bizarre. The other thing I find super weird is that you can't pick a dress code for these events. Like, you would think that for an engagement dinner, you would want to set a formal, attire. So for example, like a dine out, for those of you who have dine out should know this, but in dine out, when you make a restaurant, you can put a dress code for your guests. And you can be like, they can only wear formal clothes, or they can only wear their party clothes, or, their casual clothes. And I don't know why the Sims team didn't do that for each event. They did that for the wedding event, but not any of the other ones. There's no like dress code for the engagement dinner, bachelorette party, the vow renewals. There's nothing. Like, your Sims will show up in whatever they want to show up in. You can't control it at all. So if you're having like this fancy rehearsal dinner, your non-family member is gonna wear whatever the heck they want, which is a bit annoying. Like, I wish there was a dress code in all of them, because you don't want your Sim showing up in flip-flops and a weird eyeball ring to the rehearsal dinner. But anyways, so it was a bit of a mess. It doesn't have a dress code. Now let's get on to the wedding. So the wedding has this really interesting menu. So basically how the wedding works is that you pick your Sim. Obviously you have to be engaged, so you have to go and get your Sim engaged, and then after that you can click plan a wedding event, click on the wedding, and you'll be met with this option to pick out Sims. So obviously you have the people who are getting married, then you can pick an officiant, a flower pal, I think a bridesmaid, a ring bearer, and it's really, really cool. But you have to ask them before you plan the wedding, or you have to go back into the menu after you plan the wedding. I didn't go back after. I'm not sure how that works, but what I did is after I got engaged, I went and talked to people, and I, got my officiant to be the father. I got my sister to be the bridesmaid. I got my other like sister-in-law to be the ring bearer, and I had like my little kid sister be the flower pal. So and then after that I clicked plan wedding event, and then you can click them, but you have to ask them first before the option for them to, like, you can't select them to be the flower pal if you haven't asked them to be the flower pal in game first, which is pretty cool. And they can even say no. Like, some of them might be like, nah, I don't want to be your wedding lady. I haven't had a single sim say no to me, but apparently that's a thing. After you do all of that, there's another menu where you can select your cake, you can select the attire, and then you can pick out your, like, you can literally go into cast in that menu and pick your outfits. The weird thing, there's a couple of weird things here. One is that the cake thing makes no sense. I don't understand how it works. Like, they don't really explain it well, and so I had to have someone else in chat tell me how to do it, because just from looking at the menu, like, I would have no idea. So basically, you can't select the cake. Like, you first have to plan the event and then go back into that menu and pick out the cake. That's just really confusing. I don't know why they did that. And the second thing is the dress attire. So you have two options, boho and formal, which is dumb because we don't have a boho. Like, why boho specifically? I don't understand at all. It doesn't compute. First of all, The Sims is terrible at tagging stuff, so if they make you pick something from like the style boho, I'm gonna be so sad. Yeah, that was the options. And even if you click on the wedding or like the formal attire, for example, the Sims won't show up in their formal attire. They just like won't listen to it. And I was watching Little Simsy's video, and she was saying that after you select it, it just becomes unselected. So I don't know what's up with the formal attire, but it just doesn't work. So the dress attire doesn't work. The wedding cake is really confusing. I didn't understand how that worked at all. When I did the wedding, none of the interactions worked. Barely. Like, this wedding, I tell you, it started at 9 p.m. I did that on accident. I didn't mean to start the wedding at 9 p.m., but I accidentally didn't press a specific time, so it just started immediately. By the way, before you end your planning events, you can pick the place and the time, obviously. So I had my wedding at 9 p.m. at the wedding venue, and these Sims were all over the place. Not a single Sim was listening. Like, I got them to gather at the aisle, and then they were just frozen. Like, they wouldn't do anything. They kind of looked like the way Sims freeze when you have to reset them. I know if you guys have ever had a Sim just kind of like stand there and not do anything no matter what you tell them to do, that's kind of what happened. Like, they were just all standing there and not listening, so I had to reset them all and then click a new interaction, and then it would work. And sometimes it wouldn't. Like, it was hit or miss. Like, sometimes even if I reset them, they wouldn't listen. So after I reset them, then they all sat down. I was like, okay, let's, walk down the aisle. And the walk down the aisle worked, which was great. And it was super cute because when I started the wedding, the Sims had these really nice interactions. They were like crying and smiling, and they were excited. And supposedly there's also, it's like, your Sim could be upset about the wedding, so they'll get angry in the eye, or as I watched, the wedding reception, which is pretty cool. I liked the emotions that were happening, and I liked watching the families and like walking down the aisle and all that kind of stuff. So it was very cute, but it took 3 tries to like get them to even say their vows, and the officiant thing didn't work for me. No Sim ever went to officiate the wedding. After they got married, said their vows, they just kept talking to each other. I was trying to get the bouquet toss started, and it just wasn't working for me at all. I couldn't get the bouquet toss to work. She would keep like hyping it up. Like, she would be like, oh, bouquet, bouquet, bouquet. But then she wouldn't actually throw the bouquet. She just kept, ooh, look at my bouquet. And then she never threw it. Because it seemed like, okay, wait, something's happening. It's happening. That's happening. How long do you think they're going to stare at each other until the bouquet thing is actually dropped? It's not. They're not going to do it. And? Is it going to work now? Okay, well, she's doing something she didn't do last time. And again, they're all standing. Bro, throw the bouquet. The cake cutting did not work. I actually had to go and manually buy a new cake because mine spoiled by the time I even got to it. This wedding was over 12 hours long in the game. It was an extremely long wedding because that's how long the glitches took. Like, it was so difficult to get your Sims to do anything. Basically, nothing worked. I basically gave up on trying to see what the ring bearer does because they were all just standing in a corner, not doing anything, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. So I gave up on a lot after that because it was just really frustrating. Like, I was sitting there. It was a wedding that went from 9 p.m. to the next day, like 11 a.m., I think. And then it just randomly stopped. Like, the event disappeared. And that's another thing I don't know about this pack is when the wedding and stuff ends, because the wedding lasted a long time and then it just randomly stopped. Like, I didn't manually click to turn it off. It just turned off on its own. The bachelorette party and engagement dinner also did that, but at a much shorter time. So it just randomly stopped at one point. And I was like, oh, wait, the weddings or the bachelorette party's done. And I didn't even know. So that's another thing that confuses me. But overall, the gameplay is just really, really bugged out. It's so bad, like so unbelievably bad. I can't even recommend this pack. Like, sometimes I would be like, oh, well, if you like the cast items, then you should buy this pack. But this one I can't, because the fact is that if you do any sort of gameplay, you won't be able to have weddings, like, at all. The gameplay is broken. And I've seen people now talking about, well, is there a way to disable the weddings? They want to disable the weddings in a wedding pack so that they can have the normal base game ones that actually work. I've never been someone to be like super complainative about The Sims. I'm pretty positive about The Sims always. You know, I've played Sims since Sims 2. I love The Sims 4. I've been playing The Sims 4 since the first time it came out. Even when there are glitches and stuff, I'm just kind of like, well, whatever. It's still a good pack. Like, Dream Home Decorator, for one, was a very controversial pack because it was also kind of glitchy. But it was like, it wasn't nearly as glitchy as this pack. It's not, like, this pack is completely broken in terms of gameplay. There's no way for you to make it to work. It will drive you absolutely insane. It's just not worth it to get at all until they manage to fix out the bugs. I don't know why they released it early. My guess is that it was like a Valentine's Day thing, because obviously it's a wedding pack, but they already had to delay it because of the whole Russia LGBTQ plus drama that happened with it. So I just don't understand why they wouldn't have postponed it a little bit more. It's not like Valentine's Day didn't already pass, you know? So they could have postponed it a while. But my guess is that they don't know how to fix it. Because they did have an extra week, because the pack was originally supposed to come out on the 17th, I think, and then it got postponed to the 23rd. And they did have a week, and that's like probably not enough time to fix it, but I'm just guessing that this was a lot more complex than they thought it would be, and it's worse than Batu, which some people hate. I don't know why people hate it. I actually really like the pack, but you guys didn't hear me say that. You didn't hear me say that. I did not just say that I like Batu. It's worse than Luxury Party Stuff. It's more glitched than Dream Home Decorator, and Dream Home Decorator is pretty glitchy for some people. It was still playable, though, and the thing is that this pack just isn't playable at all. Like, it'll make you want to pull the hair out of your head. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know what your thoughts on this pack are, because I'm really curious. Like, I mean, I'm not really curious because I know the general consensus, you know, for the pack. Like, I feel like people kind of have, this is the first time I've seen, like, Sims community being like, yeah, this pack sucks, all together, just in unison. Yeah, but let me know what you guys think about the pack overall. If you guys have any differing opinions or similar opinions to mine. Are you guys gonna buy it? Are you not gonna buy it? Did you already buy it? I'm so sorry for you if you did. I hope you guys liked this video. As always, if you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you like me, hit the subscribe button. And if you really like me and want to be notified every single time I post a video, go ahead and hit that bell button. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you next time.